Wonder Woman 1984 somehow has done well enough that they apparently are already putting in for another one with, I think, the same lady at the helm. They made I think it was a little over 100 schmil there for their opening. I don't know if that was combined theater and streaming or what that was. That was just the number that I saw in my timeline. It's been a few days since I've seen that, so I'm not sure the exact number.
Well, it's 118 million. That was 4 days ago or so, and that's box office. So that's not including, HBO's uptick in subscriptions.
Right.
And I know they had a pretty good uptick in subscriptions. I think there was like 500,000 like during that opening, like on Christmas weekend or something. I think there was like 500,000. That's not even including rentals. Like I had to rent it because
again, like we just said,
Max.
HBO Max, even though I have HBO and I pay like $20 a fucking month or whatever for it, HBO Max is not available here. And so, I was like, man, we're sitting on the couch. Em and I were sitting on the couch. She's like, she really wanted to watch it. And I was like, I hear it's shit, but okay. I don't want to be had again like I did with Mulan. I already paid fucking $30 for Mulan. What am I going to do with this? So we did. We watched it. What were your thoughts on Wonder Woman?
I felt, okay, where do I start? I felt it was a little long, for one. I think the movie was like 2.5 hours.
It was 2.5 hours, which
it was 2.5 hours.
It's a lot longer than any Wonder Woman movie has any right to be.
Yeah, especially a Wonder Woman movie that was just, there wasn't a lot of action. It wasn't paced well.
Jeff, almost nothing happened in the entire movie.
Yeah, and I don't want to give any spoilers, so I'll just be very general. But I'll say this: Wonder Woman 1984 was a letdown because the first Wonder Woman was so good. It was one of the best superhero movies I think I've ever seen. Like, it's definitely in my top 10. And there's dozens of movies now for superhero related stuff. I didn't hate it, but I sure as fuck didn't love it, and I sure as hell didn't like it as much as the first one. I probably would have given the first Wonder Woman a 9 out of 10. Just because I just thought it had a lot of heart. It was a good introduction. I know that there's been a lot of people that have been praising Gal Gadot for her performance in this, and I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't think it was that good. I don't know if it's
in fairness to her, it's not like she has a lot to work with. It's not like the writing is opening it up for her to do some shit. It was no worse than the first movie.
She wasn't as stiff as she was in the first movie, but at the same time, there were a few dramatic moments in this movie that I just felt like
they went for coffee, Jeff.
She was being out acted. Chris Pine's a better actor than she is, and Pedro Pascal is infinitely better.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm trying not to hate on the movie too bad, but it really wasn't what I thought it was going to be. The main villain wasn't even the main villain. The villain that I don't know. It felt very similar to an Iron Man 3 where they had a weird villain thing that just wasn't what I was expecting. And sometimes that's a good thing. And then sometimes it's not. And this time it wasn't. There's just too much for me. There's too many wrongs in this movie for me to it's just tonally, it was all over the place. It was just poorly executed. It was boring for the most part. It had a couple of moments I laughed out loud a couple of times.
Mostly there was Pine, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the end of the movie, Pedro Pascal. I thought he looked like he was having a lot of fun, and I enjoyed what he did with the character. And the character is it's different than I guess the comics, but I like what they did with this character. I thought the climax was a little lackluster. I thought a couple of parts there was some heart there, and I had I was I wasn't like crying emotional, but I felt something at like one point. But other than that, that ain't it. Like after I was done watching, I was like 7 out of 10. Now that I think about it more, it's like a 6.
You're a generous man, Jeff. This movie's a 4.
Oh, ooh.
Somebody put it, the best take I've seen on this movie so far was a very succinct tweet, and it said the best part about Wonder Woman 1984 was the poster. And it's truth, because that's a fire poster. The movie is not fire. In fact, that poster is one of my gripes with the film. The poster and all of its lead up shit that they did with this movie painted a picture, no pun intended, of a very different visual and thematic delivery than what we got. I was expecting juiced up 80s color themes and kind of bombastic, coke-addled bullshit of the 80s, given what you saw in that poster. I mean, look at that fucking poster. And the closest thing we got to that, and again, no spoilers, but you'll know what I mean, is in the opening scenes in the movie, the smoke.
Yeah, it was very cartoonish.
The smoke has those colors.
Yeah.
In the openings, and then the fireworks scene. That's already that's not.
That right there. I wish I was watching it in IMAX, because I could tell that was a gorgeous looking scene.
Yeah, that was their money shot, right? And those two aspects were the only parts of it that played to what I expected, given all the materials that were put in front of us leading up to this movie. I can sum this movie up with no spoilers as a CrossFit film that spins into a dating film that spins into a totally different film that's happening in another universe about a dude that's supposed to be representative of like every fucking everything that the writer hates about political and corporate America in one fucking character, all at the same time, like he's got schizophrenia. All at the same. It's like 3 different films, none of them great. Writing was shit. Pedro did the best he possibly fucking could, and Pedro can act like a motherfucker, and so thankfully, even though the writing was literal dog shit in this movie, terrible, he at least delivered it in a way that, like you said, had enough emotion to get you on board with his character. But that being said, again, he outacted the fuck out of like every scene that he was in with other people. Chris Pine, who is not exactly a stalwart, incredible fucking actor. He's a good actor. He's not a bad actor. He's not like a Henry Cavill. I wouldn't put him like a Henry Cavill, like you're just good enough, but you're handsome, so it works. But he's above that. But even he acted Gal Gadot under the table in every scene, and his character wasn't even like it had depth. His character was there for the purposes of a rom-com. They squeezed a rom-com into the middle of the movie, Jeff. The entire middle of the movie has almost no plot development and is 100% a romantic comedy like we would have seen in like the early 2000s and late 90s. That was the whole middle part of the movie. No development at all. And then they'd cut away to Pedro, and again, like I was saying, totally different movie. It's like he's in a different universe from the rom-com, and he's acting in his own movie, and he's the main character, and he's doing his thing, and then it cuts back, and it's a rom-com again. It was wacky. And it was also full of like tropes that even for a superhero movie were painful for me to watch. Yeah. When she walks into the office and she meets who you're describing as the not quite the bad guy, but a bad guy, or bad girl in this case, And the first thing that happens is, she's got the glasses on, and she dropped the file folder. And, I dropped my shit. Nobody's helping me pick it up. Jim, can you help me pick it up? Who the fuck are you? Oh no! And she's like, and then immediately they're gonna juxtapose her. Here comes Smoke Show 48 out of 10 Gal Gadot, and with like 15-foot long legs with a slit dress walking out, and they put her up against this girl who is supposed to have then been the sexed up epic version of this woman, and bless her soul, it's not like she's ugly, but you put her out in this dress and it's supposed to be going up against Gal Gadot, and you're like, bro, no, you can't do that shit. It doesn't work, but you knew it was coming. It was like the geeky whatever, and then they went out and had coffee, Jeff. And that's one of the scenes you were also probably referencing where Gal Gadot just couldn't quite get it fucking going. They all have coffee where Gal Gadot tries to convince everyone that pretty people have problems too. And I was like, what the fuck am I watching? It's such a dumb movie. It's terrible. And then, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going all the balls deep. At one point, the rom-com, okay? That people from the trailers would already know this. This is not really spoilers, but the rom-com section of this where Steve is back. I won't tell you how Steve gets back, because that would be a spoiler, but everyone knows Steve is back. So the rom-com portion of this dog shit fucking movie, they're out, and it's basically like a half hour of Steve being a lost puppy deer in headlights, because he's gone like forward in time like all this year, and he's walking around the city like, wow, woo, and then like deep in the background, like the bokeh is blurring out Gal Gadot in the background, and Steve's just walking around going, oh, wow, golly, look at this shit. Oh, and moving stairs? It's an escalator, Steve. Ooh, wow. Put one foot on at a time, Steve. Oh, shit, I'm moving on an escalator. And then he goes out and there's fucking art installations. And she's like, all of this that you see before you is art. And Steve's like, wow, that's super neato. And then he stares at a trash can and he goes, yes. And she goes, that's a trash can. He's like, oh, that's a trash can right now. I guess, sorry, that's a trash can. My bad. And then, so they set him up. They like take him to the museum where he sees, because in the time he's been gone, we go to the moon and all that shit. And he's fucking like, he's mind fucked, right? He's like, oh my God, we went to the moon? Excuse me? Holy shit. And there's a part of the movie where they have to do some flying, right? We all know what Steve does best. He fucking flies, right? And we've just watched him be such a fucking potato that he thought a trash can was a piece of art, and he was mind fucked that we went to the moon like decades before this movie takes place. They're like, we need to get to this place on the other side of the world. How are we gonna get there? Holy shit! Like, well, we have to fly. Well, we can't just like, we don't have, we can't, we're on like past, we can't do that shit. We have to get there other means. Like, and Steve's like, well, I would fly it. And she's like, and you will. And then they go to like the fucking like I don't even know what airport it is, but apparently the entire airport security rests on a single fucking padlock. One padlock to rule them all. And then you just walk out onto the fucking runway. And so they just like walk down this ramp, and fucking Wonder Woman struggles with this padlock, but eventually fucking gets this padlock off. And then they walk out onto a runway, and you're seeing like 4 different generations of plane, right? You've got like I think there's like a biplane, and then there's like just a regular, maybe like a prop plane, like a shit that would have been like a little after his time maybe. And then there's like fucking, I don't know, would have been in the 80s. Would have been an F-14 or some shit. Like a legit fighter jet. Like space age to him. And they're like, and of all the planes that are there, she's like, that's the one. Get into this, they hop into this jet. No helmets, by the way. In an F-14 would go real well. No helmets or anything like that. They just hop on in. A Wonder Woman makes sense to me, sure, Wonder Woman, but fucking Steve's like a potato. And he takes, again, I can't reiterate this enough. He just mistook a trash can for a piece of art in the year 1984. But we're gonna hop his ass. He was mind-fucked about toasters. And we're gonna hop his ass into a fucking F-14, And he goes, 1 sec, and he just starts flipping switches.
Natural, Adam. He's a natural. It's in his blood.
Just like, he's like, nope, that's not it. And he gets like one thing wrong. He like flips one, he's like, oh, no, that's not it. Second switch. Boom, there you go. Presses the button, and all of a sudden he's flying an F-14. This motherfucker has it. Like, are you serious? But to make that scene even more comedic to me, I was like, man, you know what Wonder Woman movies haven't had yet? Her invisible jet. They haven't done that yet. I was like, man, well, this is technically a jet. And then no sooner am I having those thoughts pass through my mind, and I'm saying this out loud to M, and Wonder Woman starts doing some Mr. Miyagi shit. She's like, legit, I'm not fucking with you guys. She like claps it like she's standing over fucking Crusoe, about to friggin' heal his ass backstage after he sweep the leg. And fucking Wonder Woman just fucking got her hands going, and she starts talking out loud. Like, Steve doesn't even question what she's doing really all that much. She's just like doing some shit, and then she just starts like monologuing where she's like, we at some point, you know, we had the ability, if we thought about it real hard, to turn things invisible. And Steve's like, oh, that's useful. And she's like, yeah, but I only did it once with a coffee cup, and I lost the cup, so I don't know. And he's like, so she's done this like exactly one time with a coffee cup, but just like Steve, it don't fucking goddamn matter. She, Mr. Miyagi's shit out of it, like puts her hands together a bunch, and all of a sudden the jet's fucking invisible, by God, just in the nick of time as Steve takes off in his space age fucking F-14, and off they go flying through some fucking fireworks. Dude, that movie is dog shit on top of dog shit. It is embarrassing. Pedro Pascal and fucking Chris Pine save whatever scenes this movie has are entirely on them, and it's mostly Pedro because, you know, Chris doesn't have to do anything. Chris is there for a deer in headlights rom-com, and that's like Steve's entire thing. Pedro actually has to do some form of like convincing the people at home that what's going on actually matters, because otherwise, if he didn't, nothing in this film would fucking matter. So Pedro Pascal carries the fuck out of whatever carcass this film has, and you get that, and then at the very end of the movie, it kind of just like wet farts itself out, and then they ram in like their message. Like, if you didn't already get their message, the writer, like whatever her fucking name is, she was like, fucking take this wholesome fucking message in 2020. Fuck you. Take it. If you don't like it, fuck you. And she just rams it home, and Pedro's gonna make that all happen in like a minute and a half worth of film. And God fucking bless that man. He somehow pulls it off. And then the movie just goes and it ends. That's Wonder Woman 1984. Don't watch it,
ladies and
for
gentlemen.
God's sake, unless you hate yourself and want a place to burn money. Don't watch that shit. It's a bad fucking film. There you go.